Thank you. So we start all over again. Uh, Nice to be part of this great event again. Sorry not to be there in person. I'll try to do my best um, to fill the gap being online. And yeah, although the topic is very interesting and important, we had an honor to prepare the module number 3, which was about sustainable farm management, the very important topic nowadays, as we can hear all these 2 days with the different participants, that the issues are very important. I will tell in brief what the module contains. It contains 5 chapters. The first one is sustainable farm management, enhancing biodiversity as a practical component of sustainable farm management. The second one is components of practical sustainable farm management. The third one, sustainable strategies and practices of family-controlled farms. The fourth one, integration of sustainable farm management practices into agro-businesses, building, scaling up business models for sustainable farms. And then the fifth one combines checklist on sustainability and case study on sustainable farm. In a manner of whole farm approach, the farm is treated as a holistic system where all the elements are supporting each other and material and energy cycles shall be complete. Sustainable farm or farms should be productive, profitable, should enhance the quality, abundance of the natural resources, and improve the quality of life for human communities. The business as usual is not an option anymore, and sustainability should jump in. And in that manner, numerous sustainability standards like organic farming, geographical indicators, or fair trade have been developed in recent years to address issues of food safety, environmental quality, social equity, and economic prosperity of global production and trade practices. As an instance, the voluntary sustainability standards of FAO and UNEP are rules that producers, traders, manufacturers, retailers, service providers may be asked to follow in order to ensure that the things they do, produce, grow will not harm people or the environment. Well, we hear yesterday, climate smart agriculture is concentrated on reducing climate change impact on agriculture and adopting biodiversity, soil, water, energy conservation strategies, and implementation of good agricultural practices to reduce those impacts, which is well explained in the first chapter, which was delivered yesterday. Sustainable farm management is addressing the same issues as the practical aspects of sustainable farm management. The issues like climate change are global. Meanwhile, many of the solutions are local and may be applied on the farm level. Sustainable farm management can implement it with using several different methods, which are going to be addressed by me now. And one of the most important goals and means of sustainable farm management is to enhance biodiversity, thus providing nutritious food which are culturally acceptable and often adopted to local low-input agricultural systems. Biodiversity should exist at the genetic, such as breeds and varieties, species, mixed farms, crop rotation, intersowing, secondary crops, agroforestry, and etc., and ecosystem levels, which includes pollinator habitats, hedgerows, forest belts, and etc. Cooperation with national and community gen banks can contribute to maintain genetic diversity with making old varieties and land races common, and given samples to the farmers to try them out and to use them if they find them productive enough to be cultivated furthermore in their lands. Farmers' seed saving and seed sharing practices can help to save rare but valuable varieties. A seed swap event can serve agrobiodiversity increasing and community building processes and purposes where gardeners, farmers can meet, discuss properties of different varieties, and exchange their saved seeds. On species level, diversity can be enhanced, for example, with having animals and crops on the same farm. So we can see that the here in this agroforestry nice diagram that the agroforestry is a very interesting habitat which can include high biodiversity and meanwhile provide the production space for food crops. And we need to know that this is the tendency now that the importance of agrobiodiversity is more enhanced nowadays, and more attention is paid to this way of doing agriculture and combining or joining agriculture production with agroforestry. One of the examples of what can contain in agrobiodiversity oil forest garden is brought in this diagram, which shows in very details what kind of crops and what kind of interconnections, what kind of varieties and habitats can be in the forest area and what can it include, starting from nitrogen fixing plants which are available in different levels, such as starting from ground covers until the tree level, such as locust trees and some berries, so for example Russian silverberry, and going back to the mushrooms, to the ground covers, to the shrub level, medium tall trees, fungi, roots, bacteria, other like vine plants, timber plants, and others which are interconnected and interdependent. So this is very important to keep the sustainability of ecosystem, the participation of different in different levels, different crops, varieties, and habitats will make the system more sustainable. Yeah. So I would like also to talk a bit about the crop rotation, which is another method to maintain agrobiodiversity on species level. It is based on growing a series of different types of crops in the same area during the season. It is during different seasons which are following each other. It is one of the most effective agricultural control strategies that is used in preventing the loss of soil fertility and lessening plant protection problems, weed control including. Nevertheless, important strategy could be second cropping, which is when crop rotation is further diversified, within increasing a second crop after the main crop is harvested, and therefore the soil remains uncovered for an extremely short period of time. Usually in nature, it is impossible to meet healthy soil which is uncovered. Usually soil is covered in nature, so we have to follow the rules as closer to the nature as better. And variety mixtures, which are two or more varieties, different varieties grown in the same field in the same period of time. So, and once more, using polycultures involves growing multiple crops species in one area with intersowing. You may know a few examples of which can serve like cereals with legumes. This is very common in our area to grow first year cereal with legumes, especially spring barley with legumes. These species are often complementary to each other, and they support to build more sustainable agroecosystem with building up the soil fertility, enhancing soil with nitrogen, which is fixed by legume plant roots, and making the and differentiating the needs of the plants towards different nutrients. Agroforestry is a special form, as I have mentioned, of polyculture because it means the growth of woody species like trees, hedges, amongst annuals or grassland could include animal keeping as well. So, very important way of keeping biodiversity. On the ecosystem level, the pollinator habitat protection is an important tool to enhance agrobiodiversity. These habitats could be newly planted or conserved native wildflower, like field ages, flowering hedgerows. They are key not only for the enhanced biodiversity on species and ecosystem level, but with having more pollinator, yield of crops will higher as well. So this is important not only from the pollinator point of view, but also from the higher yield point of view. Pollinator habitat can usefully occupy the unused spaces in your farm. This is shown in case of the solar panels. You can see that the area between them is sown with white flora, which is used as a pollinate, which are used for pollination by insects. Forest belts and hedgerows around agriculture fields have several positive effects on microclimate, soil properties, erosion control, and protection of our fields, for example, against drift of chemical use on neighboring areas. We can collect wild berries or use black locust flowers to produce honey or other materials as firewood. Young shoots, especially willow and hazel, are good for interweaving in wattle fencing. Polarizing is a similar process carried out at the higher level on the tree. These forest belts and hedgerows are shelters, nesting places, and green corridors for wild species. Green corridors are linking and spreading biodiversity over great distances. This is very important, and you can see in the other photo to have these shelter belts. Usually, I don't know about other countries, but sure have not seen very wide hedgerows or shelter belts in Armenia or Georgia. We usually will have like a 2 or 3 layers or even 1 layer shelter belts for the protection of fields, but it could be much wider, for instance 5 meters, including different fruit trees, bushes, which can have different how to say positive purposes, as I have mentioned above, such as nesting place, additional food, additional harvest, and also the place for the insects for nesting and being the host plant. Another not less important issue is the enhancing of soil health. The most important component of sustainable agroecosystem is the healthy soil, which provides a healthy growing environment for the plants to grow in and to feed the planet. A healthy soil is a basis of everything what we eat. Two things are very important to have a healthy soil, which are organic matter and content, and then abundant and diverse microflora and fauna in the soil. So sometimes conventional agriculture thinks or brings the soil fertility into the level of availability of different nutrients in the soil and enrich the soil with the chemical nutrients and thinks that the soil is healthy at that moment. But this is not the way to go, and not the chemical enhancement of with the nutrients is the way to keep the soil healthy and fertile. The most important things here is the organic matter in the soil and also rich, diverse microflora. Organic matter will give structure to the soil. Organic residues, even the roots of the harvested crops, will provide organic material. Not only crop residues can serve as an organic matter source, but for example, green manure crops sown directly to increase organic matter content of the soil are contributing to these processes. Also, cover crops sown between two main crops in the time when the soil would remain uncovered otherwise are also increasing the amount of organic material in the system. Any kind of plants with living roots in our soil will provide assistance for useful microbes of the soil. While photosynthesizing, plants are capturing and building in a carbon form CO2 content of air. Therefore, plants are extremely important in any ecosystems. They cover the soil and do not allow already fixing carbon to escape again, already fixed carbon to escape again. This is where minimum tillage comes in to help us to go towards sustainable farm management, even in a deeper sense. So we should pay a lot of attention to our soil fertility and try to accept the soil not as an environment, or not only as an environment to grow our plants, but also as living organisms. The soil is much more living organism than any other living organism. If we take into consideration how many millions of habitats of different fungi, viruses, bacteria are there in the soil. The second important component of keeping sustainability and nature resource as protection in as a manner in sustainable farm management is the implementation of water conservation practices in order to reduce the losses in irrigation systems. I have been following the presentations of other colleagues before me, and they have been mentioning that there are so many losses in irrigation systems in different countries. Unfortunately, our country is not an exception in that manner as well, and we also have a lot of irrigation water losses because of because of the bad quality irrigation system. A lot of water is just lost before it reaches the field. Even if it's reached the field, not always it is distributed evenly. So sustainable water resources management is very important issue. I wanted to bring two nice examples, not very commonly used, but very important to help to sustain water in agroecosystems. One of them is so-called swells, which are ditches dug on the contour on slight of steeper slopes, like 3 to 15%. It will prevent the water to rush into the valleys, but while spreading in these long ditches. The rainwater will infiltrate there into the soil and will be stored there. Swells could be combined with organic material into ditch and also in the berms. These buried organic materials will spread nutrients when plants can uptake them. So this is a nice way of water resource management in the field. So you can see it's shown here in the structure, and year by year it become the capacity of soil to keep the water increase. Another practice which is, at least in Armenia, is not very commonly used, but is very nice and interesting practice, is key line design, which is technique that used to maximize beneficial use of water resources. A whole farm can be designed to harvest and store rainwater with this key line design. A strong soiler with a few knives, so-called yeoman's plow, could be dragged, and the salt in the soil will swallow as much rainwater as possible to store it. You can see in the photo the result of the key line design. So there are these rows which are done with this special instrument, which is called Yeoman's key line flow, and this helps to keep the water and to increase the water storage capacity of the field. No, not the less important point could be sustainable pest management, which will guide us to another very important component of sustainable farm management. Sustainable pest management is the way to manage pests with preventing, not to controlling, and to reduce the use of chemical pest management and pesticides to the latest point when no any other measures can be used and can be useful to do the pest control. Only in that sense the chemical control can come in, and even in that case it should be followed with a very strict rules and trying to use the less harmful chemical pesticides first, and then go to the more how to say poisonous ones if it's not helping. So the first component of integrated pest management is prevention. Instead of direct control, it's already appear when the problem is already appeared. Methods of prevention could be, for example, using certified healthy sowing seeds, cleaning of machinery before using them, and in other fields, choosing locally adapted and resistant varieties. All this above described biodiversity enhancing activities can be helpful in the prevention measures in the pest control, in an integrated pest control methods. Keeping constantly changing environment with different crop species in our crop rotation will keep the pests and weeds away from becoming dominant. When animals are interested into our rotation, or not only interested, are engaged and inserted into our system. For instance, we can have chicken tractors, as it is shown here in the fenced areas where the chicken can be can use the grass, can eat the grass, and also meanwhile fertile the soil. Also, another very common practice here, I can happily say in Armenian organic vineyards, is the using sheep for the weed control in vineyards. Not not into the very young ones, but the ones which are more than 3 years old. Chips are used to control pests. So integrated pest management combines the use of biological, cultural, chemical practices to control insects, pests in agriculture production. Its goal is to use natural predators or parasites to control pests using selective pesticides only when pests are unable to be controlled by natural enemies. So the role of biological control is very high in integrated pest management. So we can talk about integrated pest management for hours, and the topic will still remain open as it is very interesting, very deep topic in with very different types and directions where you can go, but interconnections between them is the most important thing here to keep the system sustainable and to go towards sustainable pest management. And here is the IPM comes in as a tool. Another issues of sustainability can or indicator for the farm sustainability can serve the size of the farm and also the form of the farm. Here we want to talk about sustainability of family-controlled farms, about economic viability and human well-being. And the lecturer before me from Georgia was mentioning that the farmers should be happy and should be able to cover their needs by producing their goods. So this is an important part of human well-being and especially farmers' well-being. So FAO views family farming as a means of organizing agriculture, forestry, fishery, or pastoral or aquaculture production, which is managed and operated by family and predominantly related on a family labor, both woman and man. There are over 5 million family farms in the world, which produce at least 56% of agriculture products on 56% of the land used for agriculture production. That means that family farming is the biggest part of our farming at all. Family farms maintain the traditional food at the same time contributing to the conservation of local agrobiodiversity and the sustainable use of natural resources. In the same geographic area and climatic conditions, higher food security and biodiversity are more achievable with small-scale family-controlled farms than with enormous monocultural fields. So this is very important topic to bring here, that the family farms or small-scale family farms are easier to be transformed to the sustainable farms than the farms which are big monoculture, thousands of hectares farms. Typically, farms of between 1/2 and 6 hectares is extend around 4 times as productive as farms over 15 hectares. In sustainable farm management, it is an important goal to maintain inner cycle of nutrient materials and energy without purchasing inputs from outside the farm unless it is indisputably necessary. The products or side products of one element is used inside the farm and is of need for the other element. So this is very important. Well-designed, well-working system is the core for the well-operated family farms. For example, it is very important for a small-scale family farms to have them as a mixed farms where the livestock or forage or manure to be used or crop production are jointly are joined together and are done in the same time. One of the products can be the energy, providing firewood from forest belts for heating or cooking and preserving or processing harvested goods within it. When processing yield, it means that we are going to add the value, and adding value in a small scale farms or family farms is very important. But in this process, it is very important not to lose the sustainability factor and not to forget to take care also about the waste minimization. So to take care of nutrients, to take care of materials, to take care of energy. Try to buy as less inputs as it is possible and to rely on local inputs. And when we are talking about less waste or without waste productions, this is important in a small scale farming as well. So in order to harvest the nutrients, materials, and energies inside the farm, the 5R rules should be applied here, which is reduce, refuse, recycle, reduce, and return to the soil. The most important part of it is returning to the soil. The nutrients which the plants and crops are taken away from the soil with the yield and harvest, we are obliged to give back to the soil in order to keep in balance the soil fertility. So this is very important part of it. To minimize waste and to keep the system sustainable by following 5R rules. Sustainability of family-controlled farms, economic viability, and human well-being again. And this is not a less important issue, which is the marketing issue. I know that we have the special chapter on sustainable marketing, but still marketing of our products in local communities help to shorten the supply chains, about which again in a previous presentation a long discussion went on, to lower the environmental effect from transportation and help to reduce the environmental footprint, strengthen the community around the farmers, to make farmers to feel that they are important. For instance, here the one village, one product approach can be served as a good example, or locally grown products, or regional products, or geographical, or products with geographical indicators. This helps to build also the community and to support well-being of farms. So in local communities, marketing will not only mean to shorten the food supply chain, but also lower the environmental impact. A local farmer market or a cooperation with other like-minded farmers will connect us better to others, civic organizations and consumers, that will help to avoid social isolation and manage stress. An important part of sustainability in all territories of life, knowledge transfer. To preserve valuable sustainable farming knowledge, a good solution could be to internship, volunteering, thematic workshops, and other events, which will help to do better socializing and better transfer of local knowledge. And when we talk about sustainable farm management, we should not forget about integration of sustainable farm management practices into the agribusiness itself. And it is very important to take care of each and every component of sustainability in order to be able to manage the farms in sustainable manner. Agrobusinesses more sustainable they are when they are when they are connected to each other and good cooperation is established. There are three main dimensions of sustainable agriculture, which are economic, environmental, and social. And these three need to be interconnected, and interconnection, they are interconnected, and interconnections and interdependence of these three are very important. And whenever of when any of these components is not so strong, the whole system can be damaged, and this can affect and will affect the effectiveness of agrobusiness, and hereby the sustainability can also be affected. If the agrobusiness is very environmentally friendly, it has a good social connections, but the economic viability is not that high, then the sustainability is damaged again. So the sustainability can be achieved only when these three are very good in a very good relationships and are in a good interconnections. Implementing sustainable farm management practices in agrobusiness can take many forms, such as waste-free production, resource-saving approaches, the use of safe packaging materials, and caring attitudes towards employees. At all stages of agrobusiness, planning and management, it is imperative that sustainable practices be implemented for the entire business systems as well as for its components separately. It is also very important to take an ecosystem approach to agriculture activities, ensuring sustainability in each level. So, ensuring sustainability in the farm, the goal here is to design and management of a sustainable farm in a whole farm approach with an integrated implement of agroecology. These elements are very important, and there are 10 elements, which are diversity, co-creation and sharing of knowledge, synergies, efficiency, recycling, resilience, human and social values, cultural and food traditions, responsible governance, cultural and circular and solidarity economies. These are the 10 elements of agroecology, which are very important. And we know that the agroecology and the concept of agroecology is developing within last years, and it gains more and more, how to say, popularity. And it is very important because agroecology considers not only nature in the center of agricultural activities, but also human being, farmer, people. It's also people and human centric. The whole system of agroecological principles or adoption of agroecological methods. And then the strategy is the integration of sustainability components into the farm development strategies, and the implementation of it is ensuring implementation of people-centered good agriculture practices for environmental, economic, and social sustainability. So these are the main important components of sustainability or sustainable farm management. And we have created a special short checklist in order for you to be able to check the sustainability of your own farm, or if you are going to provide this course to the others, then you can use it as a checklist for the ensuring of sustainability. It has different chapters such as enhancing biodiversity, implementing water conservation, mitigating greenhouse gas emissions, also ensuring soil health, adopting sustainable pest management methods, also ensuring economic viability and human well-being. So these are the main components of our checklist, and this will help to see whether the farm which is managed by you is sustainable or not. And last but not least is the case study. And we have tried to bring an example of a case study which shows the maximum level of sustainable farm management and engagement and human-centric. So the example is from Hungary. The name of the farm is Vahalatanya. This case study refers to to a management of family-run organic farm on 12 hectares, revealing specification of sustainability applied. A 5 hectares plot is mixed orchards with all resistant varieties of different species, with wild fruits in 1 hectare, 2 hectares of arable land status, and there is a little vegetable garden with herb species, a paddock for livestock. The whole area is eco-organically certified. And Vahala Tanya is about 90% of fruits and herbs are processed. And they make more than 30 kinds of artisan fruit cordials out of them. As small farmers, they process about 5 tons of fruits and herbs each year. They sell the products mostly in the restaurants nearby within the 30 kilometers distance. They are also trying to be part of local fairs. They have also joined the shopping cooperative, where in addition to fruit cordials, they sell the nicest fruits and surplus of vegetables from their garden. It is very important to be in a good connections with their consumers, and they try to know who are their consumers and try to meet their need. From the perennial herbaceous plants in the orchards, they have created continuously covered soil surface due to the sustainable or most oftenly present legume crops in the farm. They are nourishing the trees with additional nitrogens and also provides the habitat area for the beneficial insects. They do the inter-row vegetation from where they harvest yield. An additional yield, they use the manure from the livestock and they compost it and they bring it to the farm back. They do a lot of composting from the green waste residues and also manure residues. And they are mainly using as a fertilizer the compost which is produced by themselves. They are placing nesting boxes in the orchards, and they always leave some area moved where they provide the birds with a place to hatch their eggs. Their area is always covered by plants. You can hardly find the place which is not cultivated. They are using also intercropping or intercropping and mixed cropping. So here in the diagram, you can see the whole structure of the farm. You can see that they have kind of shelter belt from the trees, which is black locust as a component of field protection and all the other advantages which can bring the shelter belt. You can see fruit trees, berries, vegetable garden, and pine trees, even pond, and yeah, the whole farm. This is from the Google Earth, so you can. This is how the farm looks like in reality. So they are mainly using drip irrigation system. Now they have to use the well water, but they are planning also to do rainwater harvesting system in order to be able to also keep the rainwater in the well. They are also very, how to say, friendly, and they want to share their knowledge and to keep this sustainable knowledge transfer as a high priority for the development. So they are usually accepting interns, students, hosting different trainings, seminars, and they are organizing trainings themselves. So I guess this much about the case study. Now I'll come to the suggested teaching and learning methods. The model is designed to serve as a e-learning. However, it is possible to do suitable for in-person trainings as well, and also for the blending learning as well. The topics from 1 to 3 are mainly containing theoretical materials, which can be provided in both in person and also within the personal reading. The topics from 4 to 5, they contain also practical materials, which can be used during the in-person or online trainings, and also the checklist and example of case study. The case study is just as an example. It can be adopted to the local conditions in each country. So here is the list of general readings. In the model itself, the list is much bigger. Here are the main reading materials. And thank you for your attentions, and happy to receive any questions. Thank you. Sorry for this monologue. I know this is the problem with the Zoom.
Is there a questions here? Maybe not. No, we are
Sorry.
tired maybe. Sorry.
I can understand because it's like too long and then only one side talking, but I don't know how it's possible to do better in
Okay,
this combined
I
way.
have I have one question. My name is Fatih Konukcu.
Uh-huh.
I would like to thank for your nice presentation. It was really very clear. And my question is, one of your slide, the FAO claims that 0.5 to 6 hectares of farm size is good for sustainability and biodiversity.
Uh-huh.
Is it true for our cases? Because in Turkey, for instance, the average farm size is 0.5 hectares, and we are suffering from, the size is too small for the profitable farming. Is it true for our cases? I mean,
It was saying about like I will say that in our cases the farms are much smaller than in your cases, unfortunately, and I can agree that we are suffering because of the farm sizes, but in this study, as I have been citing from FAO, they have been showing that the sustainability, taking into consideration the efficiency with the sustainability is higher. It's not, you cannot compare it with monocultures in the long run. The efficiency is compared and given in a study in a long run issues, not for the 1 year, if you understand what I am trying to say.
Well,
Not really. Okay,
well,
I'll try to explain it in another way as well. If we are having the huge monoculture fields, these huge monoculture fields can give us a higher yield in the beginning, but when we take into consideration the sustainability issues, and sustainability issues also goes back to ensuring the efficiency issues with not only the yield for this year, but the continuous yield and the continuous soil fertility issues connecting to the pest control, resource like soil fertility and other issues, then of course it is much higher. And why they are saying that this size is better? Because it's easier controlled and easier adopted to different strategies, while the main big farms are not that easy how to say transferred from the one type of management to the other types of management. This is what the study was showing.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.